You wake up to a world that has changed overnight. The sun barely breaks through the early morning fog, casting an eerie glow on the town's cobblestone streets. The world feels different today, as though something is wrong, something hidden beneath the surface, ready to explode. The air feels heavier, tinged with an unsettling stillness. The once lively town now seems eerily quiet, with only a few brave souls venturing out into the streets, their faces covered with makeshift masks. News spreads, like wildfire whispered in hushed voices. The plague has come. The pneumonic plague, a disease unlike any other, is slowly suffocating the world. In the distance, you see Jonathan S. Lyle. The man stands in front of his home, his face grim, scanning the horizon as if trying to read the very fabric of fate. The world he once knew, a world of hard work and simple pleasures, is crumbling. He knows something is coming, something no one is prepared for. His children are still asleep inside the house, unaware of the horrors that are already making their way into the streets. His wife, Eleanor, is tending to the fire, her back turned as she continues with her chores. Jonathan's thoughts race as he stands there, trying to plan, to protect his family. He knows the plague doesn't just spread through the sick, it spreads through fear, through touch, through the breath of every human being. The first signs of the disease had appeared only days ago, like a shadow creeping in from the edges of the known world. Reports came in from distant cities, people coughing violently, feverish bodies writhing in pain, and death claiming its victims within days. It wasn't until the disease reached the nearest town, barely a few miles away, that Jonathan understood the magnitude of what was unfolding. He had seen the sickness spread quickly in a neighboring town, how it cut down entire families, leaving behind only the sound of mournful wailing. This was no ordinary illness. This was the plague, and it was coming for his family, for his town, for his people. As the day stretches on, Jonathan's mind works furiously. He needs to act. He rushes to gather the town's council, a small but essential group of men and women tasked with the town's safety and prosperity. He finds them in the town square, a place that should be filled with the usual chatter of vendors, the clinking of coin, and the sound of horses' hooves on stone. But today, it's silent, the air thick with fear and uncertainty. The group of council members stands around murmuring amongst themselves, fear creeping into their voices. "Jonathan, what should we do?" one of them asks, his voice shaky. The others look to him for guidance, for a plan, for hope. They all know what is at stake, but no one has the courage to speak the words aloud. Jonathan clears his throat, his voice strong, though inside he is just as afraid as the rest. "We must quarantine the town, close the gates, seal the borders. We can't let anyone leave, and we can't let anyone in. We have to contain this." He feels the weight of every eye on him, the responsibility pressing down harder than the town's stone walls. The members of the council begin to nod, some in agreement, others hesitating. But they know that it's the only chance they have. A deep silence follows, as if the town itself is holding its breath. Jonathan returns home, his mind still racing. He can't shake the feeling that something is missing, that they're not prepared for what's coming. As he steps through the door, his wife Eleanor looks up from the fire, a soft smile on her face. But when she sees the look in his eyes, the smile fades, replaced by concern. "What's wrong?" she asks, her voice quiet, like she already knows. "The plague is here," Jonathan replies, his voice steady but filled with an urgency that she can't ignore. "We have to stay inside. No one can leave. No one can come in." Eleanor's face falls. "But what about the others? The people in town?" "I don't know," Jonathan says, his voice hardening. "But we can't take any chances. I won't risk you or the children." As he speaks, the door opens behind him. It's Dr. Samuel Reed, the town's physician, with a look of grim determination on his face. The man who is known for his unwavering calm and sharp intellect steps forward, his brown eyes scanning the room. His presence alone commands attention, and for a moment, the chaos in Jonathan's mind settles. "We've seen it before," Dr. Reed says. "It's spreading fast, Jonathan, but we can't just hide from it. We have to treat it. We need to find a way to save those we can. We have medicines, we have herbs, but we'll need every hand to help. Jonathan nods, grateful for Dr. Reed's presence, but fear gnaws at the pit of his stomach. We'll do what we can. We'll do everything we can. The town is now in the grip of terror, and the day stretches on, each hour heavier than the last. As Jonathan and Dr. Reed work together to implement quarantine procedures, they see the first true sign of the plague's strength. People, once strong and vibrant, now cough violently in the streets. Their bodies begin to grow weak, pale and feverish. Families lock themselves inside their homes, not knowing who to trust, who might already be infected. The air is thick with anxiety, with the sense that death is stalking them all, that there's nowhere to run. By nightfall, the streets are deserted, save for the occasional figure, cloaked and hooded, moving silently through the town. The sound of coughing echoes in the empty streets, a constant reminder that the plague is here, and it's not going anywhere. As Jonathan watches the town descend into chaos, he knows that they are facing something far worse than they imagined. The quarantine is in place, but it may already be too late. People are frightened, and when people are frightened, they do terrible things. Jonathan can only hope that he's done enough to protect his family, to save them from what's coming. The first signs of panic begin to set in. The town is no longer the vibrant, bustling place it once was. The streets are empty, the market stalls abandoned, and the once lively chatter of neighbors is replaced by silence. The world outside the gates is growing darker by the hour, and Jonathan realizes that this is just the beginning. The plague has arrived, and it will change everything. What happens next? How do you think Jonathan and his family will survive the coming days? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the crisis in the next chapter. You wake up again in the same heavy silence. The streets outside your window, once filled with the bustling sounds of life, now lie still, abandoned. The quarantine has been fully implemented, and the world you once knew seems to have vanished overnight. The gates of the town are locked, the roads are empty, and the people have retreated to their homes, hiding from the invisible enemy that threatens them all. You are no longer free to roam the streets, to visit friends or neighbors. You are locked inside, just like everyone else. Eleanor T. Graves, your wife, is already awake. She moves quietly around the house, preparing breakfast for the children. Her face, usually calm and composed, now carries a deep sense of concern, of fear. But she does her best to mask it, for the sake of the family. She knows the importance of staying strong in times like these. She has always been the rock in your life, the steady hand that keeps everything together. But even she can't hide the worry in her eyes as she looks out the window, scanning the horizon for any signs of movement. Eleanor has been tasked with running the town's care center, a place where the sick are brought for treatment. She knows what it means to help those who are ill, but now the disease is different. It moves faster, it kills quicker, and it leaves nothing behind but the smell of death. She has seen the first. Victims, their bodies pale and weak, their eyes sunken, their breaths shallow. But she keeps going because that's what she does. She helps. She tends to those who need it, even when it feels like there is no hope left. You watch her as she prepares to leave for the center, a small bag of medical supplies slung over her shoulder. The thought of her going out there, of her being exposed to the disease, fills you with dread. But you can't stop her. You know how much she cares for others, how dedicated she is to her work. Still, every part of you wants to beg her to stay. Every part of you wants to keep her safe, keep her in the house, away from the plague that has already claimed so many lives. Stay safe, you say, your voice thick with emotion, though you try to keep it steady. She looks at you, her face softening. I will. I promise, she replies, though you both know the truth. There are no promises that can be kept in a time like this. As she leaves, you're left in the quiet of the house, surrounded by the children. They don't fully understand what's happening, but they know that things aren't right. They ask questions about the sickness, about why they can't go outside, and you do your best to reassure them. But the fear in their eyes is unmistakable. They can sense the change, the uncertainty that hangs in the air. They don't know the full extent of what's happening, but they feel it all the same. The world has shifted, and they are trapped in it, just as you are. Days pass slowly, each one feeling heavier than the last. The town is locked in a constant state of anxiety. You hear whispers from your neighbors, voices muffled through the walls, speaking of the plague's spread, of the people who have fallen ill. The care center has become a place of sorrow as the number of patients continues to rise. Eleanor does her best to manage the growing number of sick, but she is only one person. The resources are limited, and the disease doesn't wait for anyone. It takes what it wants, regardless of the strength of the people trying to stop it. You've heard stories of families being torn apart by the disease. You've heard of husbands and wives being separated, never knowing if they would see each other again. You've heard of children left without parents, their homes now silent and empty. It all feels so surreal, like a bad dream you can't wake up from. Inside your home, you try to keep the children entertained, to keep them from feeling the weight of what's happening outside. But it's impossible to keep the fear from seeping in. The food supplies are running low, and the anxiety of not knowing how long the quarantine will last begins to gnaw at you. You try to reassure your family, but the hunger is a constant reminder that survival is becoming a struggle. You ration what little food you have left, but you know it won't last forever. You hear the occasional knock at the door, a neighbor asking for help or offering what little they can spare. But even those small acts of kindness can't ease the growing sense of panic that grips the town. The worst part is the silence. There are no more festivals, no more laughter in the streets. The joy that once defined the town seems like a distant memory. People keep to themselves, locked away in their homes, unable to look out for each other. The fear is contagious, and it spreads faster than the disease itself. You find yourself unable to leave the house, to see if anyone else is struggling, to help those who might be worse off than you. And you hate yourself for it. You hate the helplessness that comes with being locked away, powerless to do anything for those around you. As the days drag on, the disease continues to spread. The first signs of a full outbreak are impossible to ignore. The town is on edge, with people watching each other closely, waiting for the next signs of illness. You begin to see familiar faces grow weaker, their once vibrant skin now pale and sickly. The coughing starts, the fever, the body aches. You know what it means, and it fills you with dread. Eleanor returns home each night more exhausted than the last. Her eyes are tired, her movements slower. She tries to mask it, but you see it. The toll the disease is taking on her, both physically and emotionally. You know she's not okay, but you also know she's too proud to admit it. She can't stop now, not when so many depend on her. The loneliness of the situation begins to take its toll on you. You miss the company of others, the simple joy of a conversation or a shared meal. You miss the sound of children playing in the streets, the hum of life that once filled the town. But now, the only sound is the whisper of the wind outside and the occasional cry of someone in pain. The world is shrinking and you're all locked inside, helpless. As the days turn into weeks, the first true signs of despair begin to set in. You know the worst is yet to come. The sickness is spreading, the food is running low, and the hope you once held on to is beginning to slip away. The people of the town are losing faith, losing their will to fight. And as you look around, you wonder if there is any way to stop it. Is there any hope left? The plague is only getting worse, and the quarantine is no longer a protective measure. It's a prison. And you, just like everyone else, are trapped inside. The world outside is collapsing, and all you can do is watch. The plague is spreading faster than they can handle. Can Jonathan and Eleanor survive the growing crisis? Stay tuned as we explore the next chapter in this devastating journey. You can feel the weight of the world pressing down on you as the days stretch on. The town is a shell of its former self, its once vibrant streets now empty and silent, save for the occasional cries of the sick. Inside your home, the air feels thick with uncertainty, with fear. The quarantine has tightened its grip, and no one is allowed in or out. The once bustling town is now a place of isolation, where survival is a daily struggle, and hope is becoming increasingly hard to find. Dr. Samuel Reed is working tirelessly in the makeshift medical center, A small, dimly lit room at the town's edge. The walls are lined with shelves of herbs, bandages, and crude instruments, and the air is heavy with the smell of disinfectant and sweat. The physician, who once held a sense of calm and order, is now a man on the edge, his face drawn with exhaustion. He pores over medical texts, ancient remedies, and newly acquired reports, desperately trying to find something, anything, that might stop the plague from spreading further. He meets with other doctors, but even they seem defeated, their faces marked with the same look of hopelessness. "We have to find a cure," Dr. Reed says, his voice raw with fatigue. "We can't just watch as people die. We have to do something." But there is nothing. The disease spreads too quickly, its symptoms too severe. The townspeople are dropping like flies, their bodies succumbing to the fever, the cough, the pain. The few remedies that have been tried are either ineffective or too late to save anyone. The plague is relentless, and Dr. Reed knows it, but he can't stop trying. He can't give up, not when there are still lives to save. Outside, Eleanor T. Graves is doing everything she can to help. She moves from bed to bed in the care center, offering comfort to the sick and administering whatever treatment she can. But even she can feel the toll it's taking on her. The strain is evident in the way she moves, the way her eyes dart nervously around the room. She's losing people, and she's losing them fast. The weight of it all hangs heavily on her, but she doesn't show it. She's the rock for everyone else, even though she feels like she's crumbling inside. One evening, a new patient is brought in, a young woman who had been in the town's outskirts when the illness struck her. Her breathing is labored, her face pale, her body shaking with fever. Eleanor tries everything she can, working swiftly with what little medical supplies they have left. But it's no use. The woman dies in her arms, the life draining from her too quickly for anyone to save her. Eleanor's heart sinks, and for the first time in days, she lets herself break. She steps away from the body, her hands shaking as she wipes away the tears that threaten to fall. She can't stop herself. She can't help everyone. And that fact cuts deeper than anything she's faced before. She's seen death before, but this feels different. This feels like a flood, and she's drowning in it. Jonathan S. Lyle, meanwhile, is struggling with his own demons. The fear of losing his family to the plague gnaws at him constantly. Eleanor's absence at home, as she spends every waking moment helping the sick, leaves him with the children. He tries to shield them from the worst of it, to keep their spirits up, but the fear is evident in their eyes. They know something is wrong. They can feel the tension in the air, and they know their world is crumbling. The food supplies are running low, and the constant threat of starvation looms over them all. Jonathan knows he can't stay inside forever, but the idea of stepping outside into a world gone mad is terrifying. The streets are dangerous, not just because of the plague, but because of the people. The desperation is beginning to show. People are willing to do anything to survive, and that means that food and supplies are becoming more valuable than life itself. With a deep breath, Jonathan makes up his mind. He needs to find food and medicine for his family. He can't wait any longer. He knows that even if it means facing the dangers of the outside world, it's the only way they will survive. As he steps outside, the world feels like it's holding its breath. The streets are eerily quiet, with only the occasional figure moving in the distance. The few people he encounters are too focused on their own survival to notice him. He moves quickly, dodging through the alleys, his heart pounding in his chest. He reaches the market square, which is now a ghost town. The vendors' stalls are abandoned, their wares either stolen or left to rot. A few stray dogs scavenge through the garbage, and the smell of decay hangs heavily in the air. Jonathan spots a small building up ahead, its windows boarded up, but the door ajar. Inside, he finds a few remaining supplies, dried meats, grains, and a few bottles of medicine. His heart skips a beat as he collects everything he can carry. It's not enough, but it will have to do. He leaves the building, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of danger. He doesn't trust the streets anymore. Every corner feels like a potential threat, every shadow hiding something worse. On his way back, Jonathan hears a noise behind him. He turns just in time to see a group of people running toward him. They are desperate, hungry, and angry. Their eyes are wild, their faces gaunt. They've been trapped in quarantine just like him, and they're willing to do anything to survive. Without warning, they rush at him, grabbing at the supplies he's carrying. Jonathan struggles, fighting back with every ounce of strength he has, but there are too many of them. A violent scuffle ensues, and Jonathan's heart races as he realizes that these people will stop at nothing to take what's his. In the chaos, he manages to break free, running as fast as he can back to the safety of his home. But the damage is done. The fear, the violence, the desperation. It's all around him now. There's no escaping it. As Jonathan slams the door behind him, his chest heaving with fear and exhaustion, he knows that things are only going to get worse. The town is descending into chaos. The first true signs of panic have arrived. People are no longer following the rules, no longer cooperating. The plague is just one enemy. The human instinct to survive, to do whatever it takes, is becoming the greatest threat of all. The town is falling apart. Will Jonathan and Eleanor be able to survive the escalating chaos? What will happen when the desperation of the people reaches its peak? Stay tuned for the next chapter as the struggle continues. The world outside feels different now. The gates to the town are finally opened, the quarantine lifted, but the streets are eerily quiet. It's as though the life has been drained from the town, leaving behind only a hushed echo of what once was. The plague, though over, has left its scars on everything. The air is heavy with the weight of those who did not survive, and the buildings that once stood full of laughter and life now feel like hollow shells, reminders of the lives lost. You walk through the streets, your footsteps echoing in the silence. There is no longer the hustle and bustle of daily life. The market square is empty, the shops are closed, and the once vibrant community feels like it's holding its breath, unsure of what comes next. The town is recovering, yes, but not without its wounds. The death toll was high, the pain still fresh, and the scars left behind are deep. Some families, like your own, are lucky enough to have made it through, but there are too many who are now gone, leaving only the memories of what once was. As you move through the streets, you begin to see the first signs of life returning. Families who had been forced into isolation are cautiously coming out of their homes, their faces still weary from the ordeal. They move slowly as though unsure how to fit back into a world that has changed so drastically. You see the faces of old neighbors who had disappeared during the worst of the plague. They look different now, hollowed out by grief and loss, their eyes shadowed with memories of the lives they couldn't save. The joy that used to radiate from their faces is now replaced by a quiet, lingering sorrow. Eleanor is among the first to return to the care center. Though she seems like a shadow of the woman she once was, the weight of the lives lost weighs heavily on her. She moves through the center, tending to the few remaining patients, her hands shaking as she does so. The sick have mostly recovered, but the emotional toll of the epidemic is harder to treat. She talks to the survivors, offering what little comfort she can, but she knows that no words can truly heal the wounds left by the plague. She looks at the empty beds, the ones that used to be filled with the dying, and wonders if she did enough. There are no answers, only the silence of those who have gone. Jonathan stands at the edge of town, his gaze distant. The battle to survive is over, but the aftermath lingers. He looks back at his home, at his family, and wonders how much of the world he once knew will ever come back. His children have grown quiet, their laughter replaced by a sadness that seems to have taken root in their hearts. They don't speak much about the plague, but it's clear that the experience has left a mark on them, just as it has on everyone. He watches as families begin to rebuild, to recover, but he knows that things will never be the same. The plague has taken so much from them all. It has taken lives, homes, and the very fabric of society, but in its wake it has also left behind something else, a deeper understanding of what it means to survive, to endure. The town is broken, yes, but there is hope. The survivors, the ones who made it through, are the ones who will rebuild. They will find a way to move forward, to heal, even if it takes time. Jonathan knows this, and it gives him a sense of purpose as he looks to the future. Dr. Samuel Reed, too, reflects on the aftermath. He stands in the same small medical center where he spent so many sleepless nights trying to save lives. He looks at the instruments, the medical texts, the remnants of a time that feels both too close and too far. The plague taught him so much, things he never thought he would have to learn. But now, with the worst behind them, he knows that the lessons must be passed on. He gathers what's left of the medical team, sharing what they learned during the crisis. They talk about the future, about how to prepare for any similar outbreaks. But they also talk about the importance of community, of supporting each other through times of crisis. It's a lesson that cannot be forgotten. As the days pass, life begins to slowly return to some semblance of normalcy. The streets are still quiet, but there are signs of life. People are starting to rebuild their homes, their businesses, their lives. It is a slow process, and it is hard, but they are doing it. The town is changing, evolving, as it must. The past will never be forgotten, but it is clear that the future must be embraced. Jonathan, Eleanor, and Dr. Reed all know that the plague has left its mark on them, on the town, on the very soul of their society. But they also know that the world has not ended. It is beginning again. The town will survive, as will they. The scars will remain, but they will also heal. The lessons learned will shape the future, and though it may be a long road, they will walk it together. As you stand on the edge of the town, looking out over what has been lost and what is yet to be rebuilt, you realize that this is not the end. This is just the beginning. The plague may have taken its toll, but the town has not been destroyed. It has been changed, yes, but it is still here. And so are the people who lived through it. They are survivors, and they will rebuild. It is a new beginning, one that is born from the ashes of the old world. The survivors have endured. But what lies ahead for them in this new world? How will they rebuild, and what lessons will they carry forward? Stay tuned as we explore the final chapter of this journey.